All Grit.
Hosted by Animesh and Tanya.
We are in the 6th episode of our podcast, and each conversation so far has been so different from the last, so enriching in the perspectives it has helped us build along the way. Adding to this discourse is Prabha Rai Sridhara, a senior HR executive at ONGC who started her career as a research associate at IIM-Lucknow and a teaching associate at LBSNAA. Besides being an inspiring representation for women in the oil and gas industry, this episode has Prabha breaking commonly held myths surrounding PSUs while talking about her day job as an academician turned HR executive.
Hi Prabha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Really happy to have you here, and I'm looking forward to our discussion from here on.
Thank you for having me.
Prabha, so far we have had guests from private firms on the podcast, and we are extremely glad to have you today because you are the first guest from the realm of public corporations. Your career has been interesting as well. Currently, you are working as an HR in ONGC. Could you tell us the journey which led you here?
I really like working here in ONGC, and but I can tell you one thing, and I don't know how many people will relate to it. I actually never wanted to be a career woman. I was raised to be a housewife. So there was never a pressure on me to actually study hard and get somewhere and do something. And I now think it actually helped me a lot because I studied what I wanted to study. I did what I wanted to do, which I actually found interesting to do. So yeah, as you said, that my journey is quite interesting because I started working as teaching assistant at IIM-Lucknow, and after my MBA, why I joined IIM-Lucknow as teaching assistant, because I actually felt that it was an extension of college life. I could still go to the library and attend all the classes I actually found interesting. So yeah, I don't know, you guys are still in college, so you will not feel it right now what I'm saying, but when you leave it, you actually miss it. So yeah, so that was my work in IIM-Lucknow actually gave me this interest in research. So I remember my one conversation with my professor one day, and he teaches negotiation, and I was talking to him, and I said that, don't you think, professor, that we change our style based on who we are negotiating with? Like if I'm negotiating with a man, it's different than if I negotiate with a woman. So he said that, don't ask me, you should find out. So that's how I got the research question of my PhD. So that was really interesting for me, the journey, the learning what I had. And actually it helped me in LBSNAA. So after IIM-Lucknow, I went to LBSNAA, and I'm assuming that you know a little bit of LBSNAA.
Yes, right. Of course. All the IAS officers are trained over there, right?
Yes, not only IAS officers, everybody who gets through civil services, they go there for their foundation course. 3 months they stay there. And it is predominantly for IAS officers. Yes, 2 years they spend there on and off. So I went there as a research assistant and for management area. And what I actually did, that was the first time they hired somebody like me. And I was there to ensure the quality of the training. So they have the two parts of training. One part is academics and other is non-academic. I only focused on the academic parts of it. So first year, what I did, I documented everything what we were teaching. I made the session plans for all the classes we were taking and the reading lists. So I made it very standard. And why it is very important, because that's how you ensure quality. As the Japanese say, that you say what you do and then you do what you say. So then you can actually improve what you have been doing. So that was one part of it. And after that, what I did, actually, we got affiliation, we got recognition of JNU for that 2-year course, which IAS officers were actually doing there anyway. So now JNU gives them MA in public management. So yeah, that was quite an achievement, because a lot of IAS officers, they come there, they're just graduates, they're smart people, but they don't have a PG degree. So if they want to go for a PhD or they want to do something further in studies, that 2 years MA degree, that actually helps. So yeah, that's it.
Right, I'm sure. And I think one thing that kind of stuck with me was the fact that you said that, this was all, you did not plan this for yourself. This just happened and you just went with the flow, sort of. And I think that's what happened with me as well. I wasn't really somebody who had decided when I was very young that, I want to get into an IIM and, do this with my life. I didn't like really no. But it's just that I took the opportunities that came my way, and I'm from Jammu as well, so it wasn't very common for us to have gone out to study and all of that. But then it started, I think, with our generation, where people started to kind of go out and explore other careers apart from engineering and medical. So that was very interesting. Now, after your academic journey, you made a pivot, and I think that's really interesting, because so far in our podcast we haven't had people who have made such a kind of pivot from being an academician to in the corporate setup. So when you were making that pivot, did you intentionally choose to apply to ONGC or PSU, or were you trying to also, you were open to the idea of applying to a private organization? So what motivated that decision, and how hard that shift was for you?
When I think now, actually, I wanted to work in the industry first before I go out and teach people how to do HR. I wanted to actually work at HR. I think I will have more ethos if I have actually worked in the field. So I was thinking of that switch anyhow. And when I was working in LBSNAA, my um, uh, interest was in public service. So I actually saw how government works and things, and I got actually a little bit of familiarity with the environment. And to be very honest, I wish I had a better story to tell you. I actually went to ONGC office. We have headquarters there in Dehradun, and I was in Missouri. I visited the place and I thought, okay, so they have this school office in government. I must work here. So that's how it all started. And they said that you have to just write one exam and sit for the interview. And I didn't have to go anywhere. I was there already. So I sat for the exam and I went for the interview anyway. But what I must tell you, that before you join PSU, or anybody who is thinking, you must know what it's like before you make that decision. So what I did, I actually didn't know anything about ONGC. I didn't know how good it was for me. I didn't know it was best employer. I didn't know it was for, actually I knew that it is a Fortune 500 company, but actually I didn't know. Why I joined specifically ONGC, not any other PSU, was just the pay scale. So I saw that they are paying the most. So that's why I decided. I don't have a very interesting story to tell you about the choice of ONGC, but I'm really happy with the 5 years younger me that I chose ONGC over anything else.
One thing which happens in PSUs is that there's no ownership, right? There's no sense of ownership, because once you're inside the system, you keep on working, and the onus does not fall on anybody, because you have so many accountability covers. You take a decision, and and if it goes wrong, you don't own it in the end, right? And to take this forward, there are a lot of processes as well from the outside, right? This is all from the outside. There are a lot of processes which can hinder taking a decision, uh, leading to uh, leading to a situation where employees feel less empowered. Is that changing with time and in a PSU like ONGC?
I must correct you here. Maybe the perception is dated, not the PSU culture. Ever since I have joined ONGC, I have seen a lot of things. We have gone a lot of changes. But even before that, when I joined 5 years back, we had a lot of innovations going on, and we don't talk about it. We don't come out and say these things, but because we are public sector company, we don't advertise that much. I really don't agree with that policy though. So when I joined, I thought that I know the processes, I know how to work in government. But when I actually joined, it was a cultural shock for me, I must say. When I came here, I after 10 days I called my old boss, and I actually said that, can I get my job back? And he laughed so hard, and he said that what you're facing is teething problems, and ONGC is really good for you, and you give it a try. And he said, if you call me after a month, if you feel the same way, we will talk about your job. But I'm telling you, it took only 1 month, and I actually started understanding how it works here in ONGC. So first thing, you should always understand that in PSUs or anywhere in government, we have more process oriented, not outcome oriented, because processes are more easier to measure, and we are accountable. Like, we have all sorts of scrutiny, right? And we are dealing with public money. Even though we are company, ownership is with the government, and government has public money. So we should be very, very careful how we are spending every single penny. So the processes are very important. If you don't understand the process, or you don't follow it completely, even if you achieve the outcome, maybe somebody will send you an RTI to ask you why you did what you did, and your intention will be asked, questioned. So you'll have to understand the basic difference between government and private sector. So if you understand that, then you will find a way to perform better. You will understand, you will have respect for the procedures. So yeah, this is one thing I tell every newcomer, because you should have the very, very deep respect for the procedures. Last time when we spoke, I was working from home mostly. I was only going 2 days to office, but now I have to go everywhere, every day, because we are doing this recruitment for doctors for offshore. So we get so many applications, because everybody wants to get to work in public sector sometimes in their life, even if it's tenure based. So I have to give equal amount of time on every applicant. If you ask somebody in private sector, they will maybe do it quite efficiently and in less time, but I have to be very thorough in my procedures. I have to follow government guidelines. There is a reservation. I have to follow that. I give out those seats for particular people of the society. So I have to follow all these processes. And my boss and my company, how they are judging me is how well I'm following the procedures and how I'm avoiding trouble. So that is the way I'm judged, not like how quickly I produced 50 doctors to go to offshore, not that. So things are very different. If you understand that, you will respect that, and you will learn to navigate there.
So the primary motivation to join a public sector undertaking is to work for the country, right?
So yeah, people ask me this question, and I see when I joined ONGC, people take immense pride in working for ONGC. Whosoever you meet, they might have problems with the immediate boss or the place of posting, but they will never say anything against ONGC. Everybody is like, and that's how we treat our employees also. So if we call them oil soldiers, because they go to offshore, and they are away from the family, away from the society, and they work, and it's quite hazardous and dangerous to work there, and they are doing it. So we treat them that way. And people take a lot of pride in wearing those orange dangris, and sometimes they come to office wearing those, and it's beautiful. I must say that it was very peculiar for me when I joined initially, but now I understand the culture and how much people love working here.
So one of the things that you mentioned is that the work is more process driven as opposed to outcome driven. So when you're hiring people, and especially people from our generation, uh, and our generation tends to be more outcome driven. We need results and we need to see what our actions entail as soon as possible. So is that a hindrance when you're hiring people? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so we have different policy to deal with millennials now. So when I also joined, I actually want instant recognition. If I'm doing something wrong, I want my boss. We have this 1 year performance management system. I have to wait for 1 year to see what my boss wrote about me. So it's quite like I don't have that much patience. So yeah, things are changing quite now, and for millennials especially, we are coming up with small incentives, not incentives in terms of money, but recognition. And if you really want to do something, you are given the chance to do it. And people say that Animesh also said that you don't feel the ownership. It's not like that. Actually, if you want to work and you come up with an idea, there are so many ways you can do, because you have money, you have resources. If you are coming up with something new and innovative, and you have time to invest, you want to invest time, then yes, you will get all the opportunities to work for it. The recognition actually that drives you.
Right. And my next question is, exactly about that. So we realize that in any organization, human resource is a very, very important asset. And, the property and the machines, the technologies, all of those can be bought with money. But if you have intelligent, efficient, and honest workforce, is when your organization will be successful. So when we talk about PSUs, you don't get a barrage of incentives, which are available at your disposal to motivate employees to perform better. Everything is from promotions to hikes is related to one's tenure in the organization. So how do you promote positive reinforcement in such a scenario?
Yes, here also I will correct you. We don't have completely tenure-based promotions like we have in government. In ONGC and some other PSUs also. First 2 promotions you get on tenure based, and then you have to work for it. So there are interviews, and then there are assessment centers. So if you want to get ahead, then you have to build your CV. You have to be very, very forthcoming. So that's one thing. Second, I would say that money as a motivator is highly overrated. I don't think that we only work for money. We work for the challenge of it, and just to accomplish a task and to be recognized. And especially us, we want instant recognition. We want assurance that we are doing correct on the real time basis. So these are the things. Actually, we have this one system called CRC. So even if you are the manager HR and I'm manager HR, but if you have CRC position, that is L1, L2, L3, will not go into the details, then you have more power than I have. So you can sanction things, you can approve projects. So it's not the same thing if we both are from the same batch and you are doing these kind of things and I'm not, then that's one thing I really want to work for. So these kind of things, that amount of work you get to do if you're doing really well, and the challenges are given to you, and the diversity of the assignments you get. Like I was in a CSR a couple of days back, and now I'm working R&B. So you have to learn quickly, and then you have to think on your feet, and then you have to excel. That's how it is. So yeah.
What I like about today is that there are so many misconceptions about a public sector organization, and all of them are being cleared by you. And right, so because in my last organizations, we both are from private companies. Tanya used to work in United Health Group, which is an American corporation. I used to work with an exhibition organizer who was from London. So we had a plethora of benefits, plethora of motivators, and we knew that if you show results, you will be promoted. That's it. There's no question of tenure. And from the outside, we always think that if you work for like 20 years in a PSU or in the government, you will be promoted anyways. You don't have to show quality work, which is corrected by you. Absolutely not the truth.
Yeah, that's what. And I also, when I was joining ONGC, I didn't actually know all these things. And when I came in, I got to know a lot of really progressive HR policies that we have in ONGC, and a lot of good HR policies we introduced in India. Like we were one of the first companies to introduce 6 months maternity leave and paternity leave for 15 days, and child care leave for 2 years. So if you are promoting all these things, and there are so many, if you Google, you will get to know all the perks we are giving to our officers and the staff. But I must tell you about a couple of schemes that we have in ONGC, that is for like retired employees. See, ONGC, we actually, Mumbai High was our biggest breakthrough. It happened in 1884. So after that, ONGC started growing. So a lot of people worked then, but they retired in the late 2000, early 2000s and late 1990s. And they actually didn't get that much benefit, which we are getting. But those people actually worked very hard to bring ONGC where it is now. So ONGC decided to actually reward them. And I was just thinking that maybe somebody sitting in their living room and minding their business, and they get a call from ONGC who they have left 15 years back, that okay, so we are giving you this much money because you worked very hard back then. So that is so sweet. I was like, wow. And we have so many schemes like that. There are small things like that. I can go on and on about it. But these are the things which actually make you feel proud to work in a company.
One thing you mentioned about Bombay High, right? So you are in a unique position where your employees or workers are constantly under hazards. It's a very hazardous and very stressful situation. So in that situation, how do you ease the pressure, or how do you ease the stress of an employee? Because there might be grievances, because I might go offshore and there is a very real chance that I might die, right? Or any injury would happen to me. So how do you create a policy which eases all these things as an HR?
Yeah, so you have to build a culture of it. So you know that your company is watching out for you every time, and we ensure the quality of the resources, food, entertainment you receive there. You have to ensure that. And second thing is give voice to people. So if somebody doesn't like anything there, they have the means to tell the management that okay, this is not happening. I can't work like that. So we have officers association, um, and we have very good and strong trade unions. Yeah, so actually they are really helpful. So they give voice to your employees, so you get to know about issues before it actually become a volcano. And you have somebody to talk to when things go wrong. Give you an example. When I was in IR, actually there was this only one strike, you can say, that lasted for a half an hour in the canteen of Hilly Base, where we have the choppers to take people to the offshore. So there we have the canteen. So contractor was not paying them on time, so they went on a strike. But when you have trade unions that too so responsible like this, then you don't have to fear about the illegal strikes. You get to know in advance. We can have the conversation. We can talk about it. So, and what in cases like these, what we do, we give salary to the workers directly. Then we don't give it to the contractor. So we can solve their issues. So we have somebody to talk to, and we actually provide them a place to meet, and we give them the resources. So what happens that you can then watch it. Then you know that it is happening on Saturdays or in the during the lunchtime, you know. So these are the things. And
You become the facilitator, basically.
yes, and then you can see what is happening, because they don't like it. If they have some issues, you will get to know it one way or the other. So if you are very supportive, they have respect for you, then it works in your favor, actually. So yeah, and those people who, we actually do the secret ballot election. We only recognize one union, and we do actually election for it, and it is monitored by the labor commissioner. And it's like a mini election. We do it secret ballot. It's quite interesting. When I was doing it, I was very thrilled. It's like you're doing an election in a district. So so I sit through all these things, but I really like the way the professionalism of these people, I must say.
Right. So now moving on, we've had our HR course. We recently completed it in our MBA, and we've read about the best practices and policies that an HR must follow to embody and promote fairness, motivation, a growth culture in an organization, etc. So, in your experience as an academician and now an HR executive, how much of these textbook learnings translate into corporate decision making?
Yeah, I must say that when you join, you have to actually learn the basics, and they don't teach you in the business schools. But when you, yes, but when you go on senior positions, actually, you you remember those things which you studied in the college. So I must say this: when I joined, we are completely paperless office now, and everything is on SAP, and you don't have to write to your HR for anything. You have to just apply in the portal, and things get done. So when I joined, we still had that system, and we were just gradually going away from the file moving system. So I was the last generation in ONGC that worked on green sheet, noting sheet, and actually made a physical file of something. So that time I saw lots of resistance because a lot of people love to generate paper. So you remember that organization change thing, and at least you understand why this is happening, what is happening. And it's actually comforting to know this, that this is why this is happening and this will be over soon, than not knowing anything at all, you know.
Yeah.
So gradually, maybe when I'll be on more important positions, I will be able to answer that question better. But I think that whatever you learn actually gives you, when you face the situations practically, then you remember. And I sometimes feel that I should have paid more attention in the class. So, but now I go back to those books and I actually try to read it. And in terms of negotiations and leadership and things like motivation. So yeah, I must say that you should pay attention. But I know when you have to actually study for grades, then you actually study for grades only. When you go to actually work in the field, you remember, but then it's too late. But you can always refer to your textbooks.
Right. Now, another thing which is very relevant to us as MBA students is that we often overlook PSUs and the oil and gas industry and get wowed by the X factor of the e-commerce and the big multinational corporations, that scoop up MBAs for management roles. So what, according to you, are the few things that an Indian candidate, an Indian MBA candidate should be aware of that could break the preconceived notions that we have about, a post-MBA job in those industries?
Yeah, I must say that you should know what you're getting into, first of all, because PSUs are very different, and whatever notion you have, you might be in for a shock. So get to know where you are going to work first. And if you have to have respect for the processes, I told you processes. So yeah, I have a couple of friends from the new IIMs in my own team, and I have never heard them complaining, or maybe they just don't want to complain in front of me. But yeah, they are doing quite fine. I really like their work ethics, and it's not like before, once you got in a PSU and then it's not like that. If you want to make a switch, you can make a switch. And on ONGC, we don't have any bonds. We don't ask them to stay. People stay because they like it in here, the culture. If you fit in, then you stay. If you don't fit in the whole thing, then you should not stay anywhere. It's same as PSUs. So yeah.
One other thing about specifically about ONGC is that it is in the oil and gas sector, right? And oil and gas sector is traditionally driven by hazardous field work, and the participation of women has been fairly recent, relatively, right? So what are the challenges as a female which you face working in the oil and gas company, which is ONGC?
Yeah. So if you see trend worldwide in oil and gas business, you'll see not more than 2% ladies. So we have 5,000 ladies roughly in ONGC. And when I came, and I thought mostly they will be in the clerical posts and maybe they have risen from the ranks. But when I came in, and now things are also changing as more and more women are coming in STEM. So now they are looking for opportunities in oil and gas business also. And it's very, and I feel very proud of it, that we have started sending ladies to offshore. So they have started working now, and they go for 14 days, they work there and they come back. And I feel that, you know, if you are a production engineer and your colleague is going to offshore and getting all the experience, and you're not, and you're sitting in office and doing the paperwork, so when they will be looking for a director for that post, and they will not consider you. But it's not your fault, because you were never given the opportunity. So as a lady, I want to have the choice to go if I want to go, and if it's not ONGC, then who else? We can create the facilities for our ladies, and if they want to go, they should go.
We are at the cream of the piece, the main question of our podcast. What is the hardest decision which you ever had to?
Yes, I will say that decision to get married. That was hardest decision for me to as a professional, because you know, nobody talks about it, but you have to think twice before you choose a man for yourself, because you know how things will work out. You don't know, and especially if you have a field like me, and the person you are getting married to, he's working somewhere else, how things will happen. And I wanted to talk about it because, you know, we don't have enough role models about it also, and I want to tell everybody that it's okay. When you'll get chance to live together, you'll live together. But when you're not, then there are technologies, and you can fly anytime you want. So yeah, a lot of people still ask these questions. And one day somebody asked my husband that, okay, so you got married and she's there, you're here, how's that? And he said, yes, she allows me to work even after marriage.
That's amazing.
And I really take a lot of pride in my work and what I do as HR. So uh, when I had to take that decision, it was a very difficult decision as a professional. Yeah.
Right. No, that's true. I think we, especially as women, we have to make these decisions a lot of times in our life, right? Where we have to balance out the personal with the professional and decide what gets priority and why should it. I mean, I don't get it. Why should one have a priority over the other? Like, why should we say that we have to prioritize personal over professional, professional over personal? There can always be a balance. And like in your case, I mean, you're doing it with your husband, where I'm sure that both of you are equal participants in the, relationship, and you're equal participants in your professional life as well. So that's great. So, like this, there's a lot of things that we've learned in this episode, and thank you so much for that, Prabha. Thank you for taking out time, from breaking our myths about the PSU, like Animesh mentioned before. There were so many myths that we had, and I'm sure our listeners are going to have as well, that are going to get broken after listening to you talk. And also, especially since we are in MBA and we are kind of at the phase where we're deciding what we're going to do next after the MBA in terms of our careers. So all this advice and just the myth breaking about an industry is really important at this point. So thank you so much for talking to us. Now we are at the end of the podcast, and this is something that we leave for all our guests to talk about in the last 2 minutes. Is that anything exciting and anything that keeps you exciting during these recent times, especially during this pandemic? So anything exciting or interesting that you've been up to lately and you can share with us?
Yeah, I must say that as on personal level, I have been painting. I have been doing a lot of extracurricular activities. Yeah, but as a professional, we are actually reflecting a lot on our HR procedures and policies. So, and I'm really happy with the kind of discourse we are having. You know, we are talking about extension of the paternity leave in order to empower men to empower women. like that's beautiful. And we are talking about the POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. So how it is not gender neutral. Like if I want to complain against a man, I can, but a man cannot complain against me. So it gives me two reasons. Like first is that we put our women on moral pedestal. So you are that way taking out the privilege of being a human, right? You're not giving that privilege of just being a normal person. And second is that we don't have enough women maybe on the top positions, so that we face these kind of cases more often. So that both of these things are very sad. So I'm really happy that we are having this kind of discourse now in HR fraternity, and we are thinking about it. And I'm sure ONGC, like any other very progressive HR policies, ONGC will come up with something like this in near future.